Okay, if we could take roll call.
Commissioner Aceves?
Here.
Commissioner Farr? Commissioner Guyer?
Here.
Commissioner
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Okay, if we could take roll call.
Commissioner Aceves?
Here.
Commissioner Farr? Commissioner Guyer?
Here.
Commissioner Shkanian? Commissioner Lavanino? Commissioner Morehouse? Commissioner Orack?
Here.
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Stark? Commissioner Welt? Commissioner Wolf? Here. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Welt is absent.
Okay, if everybody would stand and join me in the pledge. Okay, if we could have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 2nd meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we'll take this time for public comment for items that are not on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, let's
Yes.
see. We have Mr. Lavanino in Santa Maria, but he's not a voting member.
Right.
So it's, I don't think we need a roll call is what I'm trying to say. Absent an objection, I don't think, I think you do voice votes, just for the record, because we do have one remote testimony or remote participant. And also just the record, I think should reflect Mr. Stark's a voting member today.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, well, do we have any public comment speakers?
Chair Guyer and members of the Commission, we have no requests to speak on general public comment today.
Okay, with that, we'll close public comment. The consent calendar, I think item 3 was to be pulled.
I'll
I
move
think it was item
1.
2.
I'll move 1 and 2 and pool number 3.
Okay,
I'm sorry. 1 and 3 and pool number 2.
okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Where do you want to place number 2?
Chair Guyer and members of the Commission, consent calendar item number 2 is to amend the 2016 meeting calendar and schedule a meeting for August 5th, 2016.
I'd suggest we take it up immediately after voting on the consent calendar.
Okay, we're doing it. Okay. Paul, did you want to talk about this?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, yeah, Paul Hood, LAFCO Executive Officer. The meeting was scheduled for that August meeting was going to be canceled, but we've had a couple of items that have been requested to add to the August meeting and to schedule a meeting on August 5th. We were looking at 10 o'clock in Santa Maria. It turns out that might not be as convenient, and so I think the Commission may want to take a look at that and consider if the August 5th meeting date in Santa Maria at 10 a.m. is something that is doable for the Commission.
Yes. Commissioner Farr.
Mr. Chair, so I just want to say for people on the South Coast, or maybe the entire county, that is Fiesta Week, and the 5th is the day of the big parade here in downtown Santa Barbara. So if you're considering having the meeting here on that day in Santa Barbara, it's just forewarned, you're going to be, there'll be roads started to be blocked off early, and you know, a lot of the preparations for the parade, which I think moves at noon. So I don't know if the Commission wants to keep it in Santa Maria, if the commissioners are not concerned about that and don't have to worry about the preparations for Fiesta, or whether they want to move it here, in which case you might want to consider not having it at 1, maybe starting it earlier at 8:30 or 9. Those are just some suggestions.
Commissioner Stark?
May I inquire, Mr. Chair, of the staff whether the items that we expect to be on the agenda are primarily focused in the North County or the South County?
Through the chair, there are a couple of items. One is the Cuyama Basin Water District, which is northeast county, and the other is the Curletti annexation to the Laguna County Sanitation District, which is definitely a Santa Maria item. It's a farm worker housing project that needs to get connected to the sewer system to move ahead. Yes, and council points out we have the IV and partial analysis for the two ballot measures, one for the formation, one for the utility user tax as well. And then there's also an annexation to the Goleta Sanitation District for the Old Town Village annexation. So they're kind of split.
I would suggest we do it because of IV and, well, it's an even split, but I think we should do it here at 10 o'clock on the 5th.
I would favor that too.
Is 9 o'clock out of the question? I know I have to get up and drive early, but that's okay. And I say that because if the parade's coming about and there's going to be, conflict, then the earlier the better, then we can get out of Dodge.
Okay, I'd move that we do it at 9 o'clock on Friday the 5th here in Santa Barbara.
I'll second it.
Well, yeah, and that's fine. I had already let the clerk know that I wasn't going to be here, so, and I know this was an issue that, one of the issues was Mr. Lavagnino was particularly interested in. So I don't know if the message got to you yet, Steve. Okay, thumbs up.
I'm good.
Yeah, so Steve will be working as a commissioner then.
Any other discussion?
I'd express a personal preference to have it up in Santa Maria, just because it's, I think it's on balance more convenient to the public to have it up there, but I'd go either way.
Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor to have the meeting on August 5th at 9 a.m. in Santa Barbara? Aye.
All right.
Any opposed?
Sure. Nay.
Okay.
What's the point of voting if you can't dissent?
Okay. Motion passes. Okay, now we need a motion to approve the consent calendar items 1 and 3.
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is change of organizations, item 1.
Chair Guyer and members of the commission, change of organization item number 1 is to consider recommendations regarding LAFCO application 1505 for the Santa Barbara Museum of Natural History reorganization, annexation to the City of Santa Barbara, and detachment from the Mission Canyon Lighting District, the Santa Barbara County Fire Protection District, County Service Area 12, and County Service Area 32.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a brief PowerPoint that I'd like to go over with you that talks about this reorganization. And it's basically an annexation to the City of Santa Barbara and detachment from some districts that do not serve within the city boundaries. And I've given you a map, and this is the annexation boundary. By way of background, the area proposed for the reorganization is approximately 5.2 acres in the west portion of the museum-owned property on Fiesta del Sol. It's owned by the a nonprofit corporation. The museum itself is a nonprofit, and it's located on Mission Creek in the Mission Canyon area. The City of Santa Barbara is the applicant on behalf of the museum. And the annexation reorganization proposal is within the sphere of influence. And the area is currently served with city water and sewer and other services by the city. And the museum has updated its conditional use permit, calling that a CUP, in the city of Santa Barbara and has requested annexation, so the property is within one jurisdiction and would be regulated by the updated CUP. No change in the use of the property is proposed or allowed by the amended CUP. And this is kind of small to read, but sorry about that, but the zoning in the county is for single-family residential, 20,000 minimum lot size, and one parcel, parcel 1 at .63 acres, 27,000 square feet would allow a maximum of 1 unit in the county. Parcel 2 at 4.95 acres would allow a maximum of 10.78, so approximately 10. Pre-zoning by the city is for a maximum density of 3 dwelling units per acre, and this would allow 1 unit on parcel 1 and a maximum of 14.85 units on parcel 2. The county zoning is more restrictive, but the CUP would still restrict future development without going through a discretionary permit process in the city. The city has prepared an environmental document, a categorical exemption for the annexation and general plan amendment, and has outlined some specific sections of CEQA. And these additional sections that LAFCO staff has identified will be included in the notice of exemption, and I worked with legal counsel on identifying some additional sections of exemptions for the annexation. And so we relied also on the factual justifications in the city's NOE and staff report, and they're included in Exhibit D. So we will file that. And these are the additional sections. I don't want to go over those. I don't know if legal counsel wants to talk about some areas. For instance, the slope is less than 20%, and so there are minor alterations to land and some other items. Do you have any comments on those? And we will file, as I stated, an NOE following your commission's action, should you approve this. There was also a property tax exchange negotiation between the city and the county, and they were agreed both to accept the exchange of property tax money. It's relatively minor, but the Revenue Tax Code still requires that the county and the city negotiate when you have an annexation. Conducting authority proceedings, the property owner, the museum, has consented to waive conducting authority proceedings, and the city of Santa Barbara, as the applicant, also consents to waive conducting authority proceedings. So therefore, a protest hearing, conducting authority hearing will not be required for the annexation if it's approved by your commission. In conclusion, I believe that this represents, the reorganization represents a reasonable and logical extension of the city limits, and would recommend that you approve option 1, which is to approve the reorganization, find that it's exempt from CEQA, and naming the reorganization with the detachments, and that the subject property would be liable for any existing taxes, charges, or fees or assessments that are levied within the county, or within the city of Santa Barbara, but not in the county. Subject property is uninhabited, although there is 1 residential unit. My staff report said there was no residential units, but there is 1. It's vacant currently. And because all landowners and the annexing agency consent to waive conducting authority proceedings, that should be included in your commission's action. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Wolf?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Hood, could you go back to your second slide? That was the larger map. And if you have a pointer, because I think if you could explain the parcels and the exactly what we're talking about, because you went through this slide fairly quickly, and I think it's
This one may be better.
important.
So there's,
Well, I actually think the other one, and then maybe both are important, but I think this one is significant.
actually maybe a better exhibit if you'd like me to get that. Commissioner Wolf, we don't have the overhead, unfortunately. We would need to scan
Okay.
this and maybe bring
Well,
it back.
why don't you, that would be fine. Why don't you just start then with the other one that you wanted to talk about?
Jacqueline? Okay, there are basically three APNs included in the reorganization, but two parcels. And the parcel that is proposed to be annexed is 5.28 acres. The museum property is over in this area, the remainder of the property with the museum on it. And that's what this slide would probably show you that better than the one that we have on the screen currently. What else would?
Well, okay, so, and then the little piece up to the left is what? That's the other parcel?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you calling that parcel 1 or parcel 2? Are you delineating those?
Oops. I'm not sure what the name of it is. Maybe the applicant could.
All right, we'll wait for the applicant.
0.63 acres. Parcel 1 is a 0.63,
Okay.
which is the smaller one.
All right. And now then, go to the other side. Okay. And the arrow is pointing to the area that you just showed us.
Right. And the city limits is in green. It's not a very good map.
It's really not a good map.
Right.
And
This one's better.
maps are really important
Okay.
for us. And I don't know if the applicant, I'm hoping will have a better map when they come forward. Anyway, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? If not,
Mr. Chair, may I inquire? Is it the better form to ask questions of the staff after the public comment?
we can do that too.
I mean, whichever is your preferred protocol. I have a couple of technical questions.
Ask it.
I noticed in much of the correspondence from the Mission Canyon residents that there was a reference to the road and to an improvement to an intersection. And I could not find a diagram showing where that intersection improvement was and where in the permitting process the intersection improvement is. And did it get approved? Is it segmented or what? And if that seems to be the locus of the concern with Mission Canyon Road, if we could clarify that.
I think that's a question for the city. We, don't get involved in land use issues, and we cannot condition an annexation upon any land use changes because LAFCO does not have the authority to do that.
Yeah, I understand that. I just want to know if the project that the city approved with a CEQA exemption involved any changes to the fire egress from Mission Canyon Road and hence potential impacts on fire safety. If it didn't, then we don't have to worry about it. If we did, I think it's a real legitimate concern.
Okay.
So,
Maybe the city can address that in their presentation. Okay. Continue on with the presentation.
Chair Guyer, could I ask a question of staff before we
Yes.
get going? Thank you. Mr. Hood, kind of taking a step back and looking at this from a macro point of view, it's always been interesting to me that the city boundaries are that far south. I think most of the time you think that the city boundaries are just to the south of Foothill Road. So all that area that's in the county now, including these parcels up to Foothill Road, are in the city's sphere of influence, but just not annexed yet, right?
That's correct. Particularly this parcel is in the sphere of influence.
And they're all served by city services, as
It's
these
city-
parcels are.
City water and sewer.
Okay,
And I'm assuming that emergency response and safety would also be the first responder.
okay. This issue has come up before with annexations from the city. I'm just wondering, when LAFCO kind of looks at, what is an orderly change rather than just a few parcels at a time or not.
Well, we had the sphere of influence review for the city of Santa Barbara about 3 months ago, and we did not make any changes to the sphere of influence or the municipal service review at that time. If we want to become more proactive, maybe we could take a look at eliminating some of these areas that are problems, not only here, but around the county.
Okay, well, I just think that it's kind of interesting. I know some of the comments said, we're just kind of doing things in a piecemeal fashion, and then we end up with these conflicts between what the city's plans are and what the county's plans are. But I'm assuming not just these parcels, but that whole unincorporated area there south of Foothill is still all served by city services. Okay, thank you.
Okay, for a matter of procedure, the first three speakers are going to have 10 minutes each, and then the public speakers will each have 3 minutes.
Chair Guyer and members of the commission, our first presentation and speaker will be Susan Ellich on behalf of the museum.
Good afternoon, Chair Guyer and LAFCO commissioners. It's a pleasure to be before you today. My name is Suzanne Elledge, representing the Museum of Natural History. And just as a point of order, I am, before I get going, I would like to know if we will be given a few minutes after the presentations to respond to anything that we've heard, either during the presentation of the people opposing the annexation or after public comment. We would just like to have a few minutes, and I'm wondering if we could request that.
At this time, no.
May I ask then to follow the presentation by the people opposing the application? And I'll tell you why. I'm not trying to be difficult. The thing is that the application by the museum has been in process for 8 years. We have read all the material that's been submitted to your commission, that's been submitted into the record. There's a lot of misinformation, and unfortunately the people who are opposing this application did not participate for those 8 years. We saw them for the first time at the annexation hearing at the city last August, and there truly is a lot of information that is misunderstood. And I want to be sure that when you make your decision, you are clear on the facts, and so I'd like the opportunity to respond, if I could.